Welcome to another session of Cirak Live. As always, we represent stillness and spaciousness, and inner peace, which is always there. We just have to make time for it or remind ourselves of it. It's easy to get caught up in the stream of thoughts and to-do lists and places we have to be throughout the week. And so we have this anchor to come back to and remind ourselves that all the answers that we seek are found in stillness. There was literally a guy, I think in the 1980s, who went into the business world and promoted the idea that any answer you needed, anything that you were seeking, that he had developed this technique that you could discover the answer. It was 20 minutes of stillness. He said, if you can sit there still for 20 minutes, the answer will come to you. It's amazing. It's a miracle. So this has been around in many different forms for thousands of years. And our infatuation with the external world, the material world, just seems to get in the way of reminding and returning to that area, that place of answers and inspiration and creativity. Executing, doing is okay. There's a fun in that, and there's a purpose in that. But what sits behind it? What motivates the doing? That is the stillness, the being. I posted a clip earlier about a talk I'd done recently about the power of being real, and how it will change your life when we no longer try to project and plan and anticipate what we're going to say, but to actually show up, read the room, read the people that are there or the situation that presents itself, and respond to it. Actually respond to it. That is co-creation. To walk into a situation with some kind of action plan in mind, and when this happens, I'm going to do this, and if this happens, I'm going to do that. You can see how there's a level of falseness, of fakeness to it, of disconnect, of separateness. You're not actually responding to life as it's happening. You are trying to control life and anticipate life and plan for it. So you're living in a different place. You're living in a place that's distant and separate from what's actually happening. And that's why we get anxious and fearful and stressed that we don't have all the answers, or that we don't know what's going to happen. And what do we do if the unforeseen happens? When the unforeseen is actually aliveness, that's life happening. To think that we know life, that we can predict life and control life is one of the greatest illusions to begin with. So no wonder we get anxious and fearful. It's because we're dealing with the unpredictable, the uncontrollable, and we know we're not going to win that battle. So there is no other way than to show up and see what's there, listen to what's there, feel what's going on, let it resonate in your body. Does this resonate one way or resonate another way? Just really truly experience the situation from a body connectedness state. And that is true presence. That is true being quality. And the situation will then communicate with you and to you what action you should take, if any. And that action that is communicated is not your own idea or what you want to have happen, but much bigger, in the way that you're collaborating with the unfolding of the situation. You're not just acting on your behalf, you're acting on life's behalf. You're facilitating what wants to happen, what should happen. And that takes everyone into account. That is motivated by what's good for everyone involved, what's good for the situation, what's authentic, what's genuine for right now. And then you do it again in the next moment. It's almost as if the talking and the execution is just a quick temporary physical manifestation of what wants to happen. And then you return to the listening as quickly as possible. You stay connected to the listening, the observing, the feeling of what's happening. Never disconnect in the first place. And then you're sharing in the power, the endless energy and creativity and inspiration that flows from being connected to source. It's an open channel. And letting that direct you, your life will unfold in ways that you can never imagine. Because again, you're dancing the dance of life with the powers of life that are powers that create the galaxy and the oceans and the mountains and the stars and things that we don't even know about. Why not dance that dance as opposed to the anxious one where it's little old me trying to make my way through life and force things one way or another because I think the little human in me thinks that's the right way, that's the good way, that's the true way. It's such a small existence to live from that place of the little human. And that is not to diminish our humanity. It's an incredible miracle that we exist, that anything exists, that we find ourselves in this body. The trillions of cells working together to make you, you, to operate your personality and make your heart beat and all the organs, and so you can move, and it's incredible. But what motivates our navigation through life can't be the little brain, can't be believing thoughts that come along and just blindly following whatever appears in the mental plane, the projection screen in our head. A lot of that thought, most of it in these days, is errant thought. It's superfluous thought. The mind was designed to keep us safe, evolved to look around and look for danger and alert us to it. That's fine. But once we came out of the hunting and gathering and the agrarian phase and started sitting in offices on chairs under artificial light, that brain started to lose itself and take over. And we became so mind dominant, so head heavy, believing our thoughts, believing everything that comes along as this is the truth, having no ability to observe those thoughts and go, well, that's a silly thought. That's not a thought I'm going to give my attention to. That's all what stillness brings, meditation brings, mindfulness brings, is awareness of our thoughts, awareness of our feelings, awareness of our environment, awareness of what somebody else says, that it's not just the words that they're using, but what's behind the words, reading between the lines, as they say. With this awareness, now you're living from what you often hear referred to as your true essence, which is your awareness, which is consciousness. And living from that place, you're now finally able to live freely. You can choose which thoughts to entertain. You can observe your impulses and go, no, that's not a good one. That one's an unhealthy one. I'd rather give my attention to this one over here. That's a healthy one. That one feels uplifting. And again, without being able to feel, if you're always in your head and you're cut off from your body, and it's the feeling state. Oh, this feels right. This feels good. And this doesn't feel right. And this doesn't feel good. That's where the information lies. That's where your true self emerges from. The more and more and more you live from that inner place, the more you get to know yourself, and the more you are yourself. And that is what self-realization is getting to know yourself better and better and better. No longer living from the patterns that we've been conditioned by, most of them the unresolved stuff from our ancestors, but also society that we grow in and our environments. If we're blindly reacting to those layers, then we're not really free. So true freedom, this idea of free will, finally arrives when we have the awareness over our thoughts. And you can see that in just noticing, if you sat still for a few seconds, noticing the first thought that comes along. You can notice a thought come along, no problem. You can stay in your being state and just notice the thought. Everyone can do that. It only gets tricky when certain thoughts that carry triggers, that carry a bigger charge come along, and then we get pulled into the thought, we react to the thought, and then we go down the rabbit hole, and then we lose ourselves. And we lose ourselves in thoughts between 50 and 70% of the day. It's a shocking number to think that we're not really here 2/3 of our life. And all those other things that we do to try to be successful and take care of ourselves and be responsible and be good parents or partners or colleagues and be a good human, it all is undermined by the fact that we're not here most of the time. I think that's sink in. Almost no one talks about this. They don't talk about how you actually gain true life back, time spent with loved ones, being able to be creative, taking care of your body, being of service, traveling, experiencing the world, actually going places, and when you go there, be there, going to concerts, and actually being present and listening the whole way through, feeling the artistry, the performance. I remember going to shows. I loved musical concerts, and early on, I was always frustrated that I couldn't keep my attention on the music. Like, how can that be? I'm here in the front row, paid good money to see big names and big artists, and then my mind was wandering. So frustrating. And no one at that time had told me that there's an antidote to that. There's a solution, that you don't have to live with that monkey mind, that you can work out your awareness muscle. You can train it just like any other muscle so that you're not just subject to every thought that comes along. Because it has so much power over us when we don't have a strong awareness muscle. In my book, The 5 Levels of Awareness, I broke that down into the impact it has on our lives, the absence or the presence of awareness, and the degrees of that. There's no such thing as an aware person or unaware person. It's a question of degrees of awareness and how that leads to a very different life. And simply put, less awareness means more suffering, more frustration, more resistance, more feeling separate and small and anxious, and getting into arguments with others because you're defensive, because you live by your beliefs and your thought structure. And more awareness means less suffering. There's still ups and downs in life, but they become very small compared to the place from which you're living, from your awareness. There's a stability in that. You're no longer absorbed by thoughts, little thoughts that go up and down and jerk you around, but rather that you're observing life and choosing to engage where it feels meaningful and uplifting. Very different life when you start living that way. So we have last session, Nandita reached out after our conscious release session, energy clearing. And she shared an experience that I asked her to share on today's session because it's beautiful, but it's also a great opportunity to explain what actually happens when we do those sessions. And we'll do one again today at the end of every live stream. We'll do that energy release. So I'm going to invite you to the stage, Andy.
Hello.
Hey, great to see you.
Same here.
All right.
Yeah.
So I thought this was beautiful rather than just providing feedback to directly to you, that you're able to share this with the whole group and others. And that way, we can kind of spread what you described. And I want you to just kind of rephrase what you told me. But what you described is in many ways typical. It's unique to you, but the extent of it is typical. And not
Mhm.
everyone can expect it right away, but for you, it happened very quickly. I mean, you've attended past sessions and talks,
Yeah.
or you were already in that field. But it's wonderful to see that you had like such a full expression right away. So, if you don't mind, just to share kind of what you sent me, what you
Okay,
experienced.
I kind of forgot, so I'm gonna read it out.
Yeah.
Even that will recollection for me. So I wrote like, thank you for answering beautifully about the meditation. I chose pain point as a head forehead was kind of feeling heavy. I thought of office mockery and ill behavior. I saw an amoeba moon surface like grates and hole and light muddy color, rough, rugged, and gloomy. Then it changed to a silver mercury kind of thing. I tried to touch it and it resisted and then engulfed like a dark venom like jelly. And I was in a mirror like silver dome. It evaporates and I am in a green sunny blue sky happy like I'm an anime character. But I also found myself in an empty closed dome room, alone, empty. I tried to change it and it was like it I had to wash it and tried asking what it's saying to me. It said act on it fast and ASAP else I will end up here. I then and it then changed to me dancing free in a space amid stars, and it was beautiful. So yeah, that was kind of the uh, vision that I got while I was meditating. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And you sent that to me right afterwards. And what does it mean? What does it mean?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you that time itself, but I was like not sure if the time extended
Yeah,
and all that. Yeah,
yeah,
so.
we can absolutely share on while we still have time always. So to help a little bit with the positioning of this, the first of all, the fact that you continue to engage with it, not question it, because what deepens the experience is, thoughts will come in and say, what is this? Is this real? Am I imagining things? What could it be? And you want to start analyzing. And if you give your attention to the analytical brain, it actually takes you out of it. It stops the experience.
Mhm.
So what you did beautifully is just that you continue to allow those visions, if you want to call them that, to be in those situations and scenarios and the shapes and the messages. And you had like a full and deeper, if we did a longer session, it would take you even deeper um,
Yeah,
experience. So that was beautiful. You intuitively went with it, right? Now, the
yeah.
the brain is a associative tool. It associates things with shapes and sizes and colors. It doesn't use language. It doesn't use words. If I say banana, for example, we immediately what comes up is yellow, a shape, uh, maybe a monkey, or telephone, or like that. That's what we immediately jump to, some kind of association. And so
Hmm.
as we're exploring the the energy world and the layers within us, the mind will interpret whatever comes, whatever stuck energy is there in an associative way. And
Hmm.
has their own interpretation, but having done this for so many years, I see certain um, consistencies across time. Just colors, for example, black, dark gray colors usually mean old, crusty energy. They represent, deep, old stuckness. But also not no longer really alive. Red, for example, that means something is acute and still very much active and alive inside. So there, blue and greens are soothing, orange and yellow, are in that direction. So colors seem to have a representation of how we would interpret energy that is more current, versus that's been stuck for a long, long time and it's deep down there. And then many people experience an inner garden. So there's
Yeah.
and you could see it that way as like there's your temple, right? Is your body. That's where all your wisdom and all the soulfulness comes from, your intuition, your gut, and all that. And very often the state the mind will experience the state of your inner world as a garden that is either green or it's more neglected and it needs more love and it needs maybe a fence around it because maybe we've been letting in energies of people that are toxic or that are not, you know, for us. And so using that metaphor of the garden, that happens often that the mind will then start to make sense of the energy that's stuck, that comes from being too much of a people pleaser, that being too not self-critical, being not having, you know, taken care and self-care, practiced not enough self-love, these kinds of things, that it then shows up as a representation of maybe an inner garden, or other structures. It looks like there was a room there that uh, you know, the wisdom was starting to arise in you. Every little detail that you can remember afterwards has a meaning, and deep, 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 this is all about you meaning, and it's not just about letting go of, you know, what's already stuck in old layers, but also how to move forward. How do you now that you've brought your awareness, the light of your awareness deep down into your layers and release some or all of them, how do you maintain this moving forward? There's a wisdom and an insight and a self-preservation and a self-knowing that starts to set in of, I want to feel this free, this light, this full of light always. How do I make sure that I don't compromise myself anymore? What can I do in my current life to set boundaries or create a distance to the certain situations or events, or stay in my awareness? Sometimes, you know, we have to put on our awareness armor. So when we go into tough environments, perhaps, you know, your work, as we've described, that you're able to really dig in your awareness heels to stay in that place, and that because that's where you're non-reactive, that's where you can see others in their pain, that whatever they're saying is really, you can sense it. This is their life that's coming through them, and they're directing it at you, but it has nothing to do with you. It's their upbringing, their background, or stuff they've inherited. You can see that then very clearly. Once you go into reaction, oh, it's about me, why are they saying that to me, then we lose that connection, we lose the depth perspective, right? But when you stay in your awareness of them and really, really settle into that space and see them from there, then you can tell where they're coming from, and it's not about you. You don't take it personally anymore. So all these life situations are really helping us transcend our identification with self. The trickier ones are actually the ones where, oh, life is going smooth and you have a good paying job and you have social prestige and you have your money or your family or your house, all these things together, and it makes you sink into the material realm. And then, of course, the downside is you start clinging to that and defending that and fearing of that you might lose that again. But initially, that's actually the tougher part. The situations that are overtly struggles, overtly challenging, um, they all point to the same place, which is that we are not our body, we are not our name, we are not our history, we are not the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, we are not the story we tell ourselves about the world and the meaning of life, and all that just lives in our head. And that's not concrete, it's flippant, it jumps, it's subject to change. There's no stability in that. It'll be a roller coaster experience when you go by your thoughts and your what you believe. So that forces us to really, where is the only place of stability and of unlimited resources and inspiration and connectedness? It's to live from awareness. And this awareness becomes very clear when we practice um, meditation, when we practice just being. You don't have to have a separate practice where you sit down every day and focus on your breath or count or chant, but rather than just to use every situation as an exercise to show up and truly, truly see what's there, see what's happening.
Hello.
Sorry, I lost you there.
Yeah, I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
hope that makes sense, that you can use life as a
Mm-hmm.
laboratory or as a gym
Mm-hmm.
to connect with deeply with your senses. Look at what's happening and not filter it through the head, but rather see what's happening, feel it through the body, and then let that inform you, let that tell you what you should do. Not to experience the situation from self, oh, it's me, my thoughts, my beliefs, and engaging from that place. That's living in the head, and that's coming from judgment and um, control and lack and fear, and then all the stuck energy. But rather experience the situation from the body. Just see it, see it, see it, see it. And I would say maybe practice that in situations that are less intense. Maybe work is not the right place because you have to perform there, and there's expectations and politics and other things. But even just to go into nature, that one's the simplest thing. And because nature actually reaches out and it grabs us, the trees, they hug us, and the plants and the ground beneath our feet. It makes it so easy to be present there. But understand what's happening there is that we're totally plugged in to the moment. And it's easy because the trees don't talk back. There's no one there who's like putting their expectations on you. They're just letting you be. Nature lets you be. So the whole work is to let ourselves be first and foremost. Like when we go out and we feel, this is what it feels like to be let to be myself, just to let yourself be. And that's what you want to bring into other situations. So we can practice that being quality, that I am myself quality. Yes, meditation helps tremendously, but don't just like put it aside once you're done and then go into life and act the old ways, but rather you need to carry some of that into every situation. Like, okay, I'm going into work now, I'm going into a meeting, I'm going into traffic, I'm getting into my car, I'm getting into an elevator, there's people there. What's my mindset? Am I just going to be lost in thought, thinking about the next to do thing, or do I step into the elevator and I see them? I see the three people that are there. And one's, a woman with glasses, and she's wearing a dress, and she's got a handbag, and the look on her face, maybe she looks stressed or worried or something else. And then the next person is a guy, and he's all business and suit, and um, whatever it is, notice it, be with it, recognize it. Even if you don't say anything to anyone specifically, your energy is one of acceptance, of I see you, I acknowledge you, I am aware of your presence. And that is a beautiful energy that people pick up in one way or another. It relaxes them. They don't feel judged because they're constantly feeling judged by everyone else. They know that's the norm, like feeling judged by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have to do the work on yourself, because if you still judge yourself, then you can't bring the non-judging quality to others. First, have to practice the non-judging with yourself. The letting yourself be begins with yourself. One of the most uh, important milestones is to tune into the continuity of life, the evolution of life. If you're truly in the flow, there's not enough time to ever say, "Oh, I am bad, I am good, I am," all the self-criticism that we throw at ourselves. I'm this person or that person, or why me? That's isolating one moment and basically pretending time stands still, and now you're blaming yourself. If you stay connected to the continuity of things, then you could say, "Oh, I'm noticing my thought, my self-critical thought. It this is how I feel about my. This is how my mind is talking about me right now." Right? So you're already not identified with that thought. Oh, this is me, but rather you're seeing the activity of the mind, and you can just let that be, and and watch that thought. Most of the time, it will leave again. It comes and it says something about you that is maybe not pleasant, and then you just notice it, and then it continues on, and it leaves again, and then another thought comes, and this could be a different thought, and maybe it's a beneficial thought, an idea about a work project or something, and that thought you then give your attention to. Now this is great, I can, this will help me in my work, or it's an inspiration for something I want to write, or uh, compose a song about, or talk on my next podcast, or whatever it is. So that's experiencing life from a place of choice. And the choice is ultimately also not you wanting life to be a certain way, but rather it feels, it resonates. So when a thought comes along that resonates, that feels deep and meaningful, that's not your mind speaking, saying, "Oh, this is a meaningful thought." It's a felt knowing. It's in your body. So again, you're not living through the head, but you're feeling the resonance of a thought. You're feeling inspired. You don't think inspired, you feel inspired. And you let that guide you. So it's like your blueprint. That's what's resonating. Your blueprint is starting to guide your life. You're now in direct relationship with source, and your body's your blueprint in your body is responding what resonates and what doesn't, and you let that guide things, and it becomes very clear very quickly that there is no other way. This is the way to live life, because everything else is distraction, misguided. It's trying to wrestle, control from your environment, and
Yeah,
it's getting upset when things happen one way and you thought they should happen a different way. How do you know
yeah,
that the way it's happening isn't the golden way to like the most amazing life? We
mhm.
can't know that. So the light turns red before you're able to go through it. So now you have to wait. Now you're late for your meeting or something. But in that 30 seconds that you're standing at the red light, if you were present, you could have the biggest insight. You could have the insight about something that you were wondering about, or that something that you'll be talking about or something. So you if you're caught up on the frustration, oh, the light turned red, and why is there so much traffic, and what's all these people
Too
doing?
late. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So you get the point. It's flow, flow, flow. You can't know what's right or wrong anyway. Just flow. Use every moment as being a receptacle for downloads, for inspiration, and staying in that awareness state. That is being in receiving mode. Is like, I'm in receiving mode. I'm present. I'm aware. I'm seeing things as they are. Some things might not be pleasant. I'm like, oh, that's not a pleasant feeling. What's happening right now? Unpleasant. People are arguing. They're shouting at me, or whatever it is. It doesn't feel good, but you're not lost in reactivity to it, and you start yelling back, and you lose your balance of your mind, and then it turns into a big blow up. But rather, you recognize what's happening. You're suddenly above, is not a good word, but you're above the situation. You transcend the situation. Yeah.
looking at it out of the box.
What's that?
I'm saying like looking at it, like being away from the situation, like yeah, out of the
Yes.
box, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
and
actually,
yeah,
go
okay,
ahead.
you can.
No, no,
So I
go
have
ahead.
a question. Like we are talking about like being, right? So what I feel like, like past patterns, our childhood patterns, whatever we have, whatever environment we have grown in, even those things shape a lot of our thought patterns after we are grown up, right? That's why there's so much of like inner child healing and stuff like that going around. I have not done it yet, and that is one thing. And then there is this negativity that comes from, say, friends or people that you surround yourself with. Then how to tackle those kind of situations, because they when you get a lot of criticism, it kind of builds up in your mind that yeah, I am maybe like this, I'm like that, or things like that. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. So those are some of the deepest roots that we have to uproot, um, when we have parents who, without really knowing what they're doing, they're saying you are this or you are that, in both ways, not just negative ways, but even in positive ways. You are this. It creates identity in us. It creates an attachment to a story that is so deeply rooted. Those are hard to uproot. Same thing with friends that you grow up with, and anyone in your environment, aunts, uncles, neighbors, friends, teachers, at school. All of this shapes, like you say, shapes our mind about who you are. And it has a big, big impact on the trajectory that your life takes if you believe those thoughts. Now, the sooner you catch yourself and realize, you're not your thoughts, your awareness of those thoughts, then you can come out of all of that. But it could be, of course, that you spend decades of your life living with these ideas, with the stories that you were, imprinted with by your environment. And most people never come across self-awareness. They never do inner work. They never, start to meditate or attend a retreat or do any of those things. And they just continue to live by those stories. And maybe they'll go to a therapist once a week who, depending on the methodology, they try to tackle one little thing. It really requires a much broader, deeper, fuller tackling of awareness than to just live most of the week, live the way you're used to living, and then spend 1 hour um, doing couch therapy. But even just, sitting and just meditating for 1 hour isn't going to be enough to undo all of that nervous system wiring that represents all the stories, all the conditioned behaviors and beliefs from before. So you're going to have to put in a little more work if you want to be Mr. Universe, and like in bodybuilding. Going to the gym once a week for an hour isn't going to cut it. You really have to dedicate yourself. Once you've, developed to a certain state, then you don't need to go every day anymore. But if you want to really benefit and be free and be aware and transcend, rise above the roller coaster experience of life, you're going to at first have to put in some effort. But again, that shouldn't be done in a forced way, because then that forcing yourself to do anything also isn't wise. But there are ways to approach it, finding teachers that teach a certain way. And some of them are, I teach writing courses, and it's all about intuitive writing and tapping into the flow and looking for one little piece of inspiration and allowing it to blossom and bloom and take over your energy field. But there are teachers who promote systematic writing, who have a structure and just sit down every day and write 1,000 words approach. That doesn't resonate with me, and maybe it does with others. They should go take classes from those people. But the way my experience and the way life downloads to me, it's when you're experiencing resistance to something, it's not to be forced through, but rather to investigate. Well, why am I procrastinating here? Why is this so hard? Is there another way? What is this saying about me? Is the timing right? Do I need to do something somewhere else? There's energy at play in the world. And when you dance with the energy, work with it, play with it, even that part can be fun. So, oh, I'm experiencing resistance today to writing. I told myself, I told the publisher, whatever, I get the book done by a certain day, and but rather than putting pressure on yourself, you can say, well, today maybe is a nature day. And a does that feel right? Does that resonate? And not to think now I'm neglecting your other duties, my writing duties, for example. No, there's a wisdom there when you can trust that I'm supposed to be in nature today. That really resonates. That feels right. And that will infuse me with energy and more inspiration, and more creativity, and more stillness. That when I come back to the writing, it's going to flow like crazy and so much better and more articulate than if I had forced myself. This is just one example of a good millions of examples of how work with the resistance, see what it's telling you, because there's intelligence at work there. And if we're always fighting life, what fun is that? So
Yeah, I guess it's beautiful, like I can see totally, like I can feel a shift, like this awareness part. I feel like shocked that I never noticed these things about me or my life, and like just asking this question, that like what it is saying to me, that has been like amazing, like last week I was going through this so much of drama with my office scenes and all, and I was so low and all, but now I feel like okay, it might have happened for something good, and I might like I am getting this time to, work on myself and things like that. So I am taking it in a very positive way, that yeah, maybe I need to upskill myself even better, so that none of that happens again. So yeah, and again, like if someone is so sometimes I do think, why in offices there are these kind of like office politics, or why people are not kind to each other. That is something is like out of my thought, because I feel like everyone somewhere, like everyone in this world is suffering, and like have their own set of issues, right? Why to put more issues in other people's life is something I think sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. Well, the different levels of awareness, again, I wrote a whole book on that, is at the lower levels of awareness, you're not even aware that you're unkind to yourself. And as a result, you're unkind to others, and that they're unkind to you. And it's just, you're so glued to your thoughts and so stuck in your way of being. And we were all there. That's not meant to be condescending, either in this life or in previous lives, incarnations, that we had to work through that in order to get to the point where, um, and I say this about in my book, Old Soul, Young Soul, how everyone has a similar character arc in every life. We all have amnesia, as it's called. We forget about our spiritual essence, our awareness essence, and we become infatuated by this world and lose ourselves in it. The difference is older souls kind of come out of it more quickly. That's the main difference. Look at what the Buddha did to himself. I mean, tortured himself and like you crazy stuff to find enlightenment, only to realize in the end it's just sitting under a tree and being is where peace is found, and not the crazy fasting and the self torture and all that. He had to go through all kinds of things as well to reach that point. So it's not to be condescended upon. One of the challenges of having greater awareness is when you look at people with less awareness, that you don't judge them for it. We're very quick to, something that we just realized this week. We then judge somebody else for it, even though we just kind of became more aware of it. And again, that's just, practicing more, ironing out the, really just seeing them as they are. Oh, this is, this is something you can practice in your workplace. As you engage, you kind of scan uh, the person, in order to meet them where they are. um, you kind of take an internal scan of their ability to be present. How well are they connected to themselves, to their body? Are they able to listen? You can, there's some obvious indicators of how grounded they are, and without even having to know them so well. And so then you can meet them there. You can nurture their presence. You can communicate in a way that they need to be communicated with, um, and not kind of force your super aware self onto them either, right? There's a skill in, as you go out into life, to adjust yourself accordingly to different environments. Otherwise, you'll get beat up, right? If your energy field is super open and you're connected, um, and you're dealing with a more toxic environment, then that will really uh, attack your energy field. So you have to kind of set some energetic boundaries there as well. And you can get really good at that, so that it no longer becomes an effort, right? Because lower frequencies tend to suck out our energies. Um, and the more you practice living from awareness, the more that awareness muscle, develops. You just no longer feel drained by lower frequencies. It just, again, you just get stronger in your ability to hold your space, hold your ground in your energy field, and others can be the way they are and say what they want. And it just kind of bounces off of you or goes right through you. And it and again, then you're no longer living at the mercy of your environment, right? That is true freedom, is when whatever happens around you, you're kind of at the eye of the storm. There's peace, there's calm, you're centered and grounded, and there could be pure chaos going on around you, and it just doesn't impact you, it doesn't phase you. So that's a good place to be.
I am not sure. So, just now when we were talking about environment, I got this thought. I hope I'm not taking too much time.
No, no, please,
Uh,
please.
okay. So, what I feel like, say in office places and all, as we say, like, okay, low frequency, low energy, or like toxic environment and all, I feel like very low there and all. Compared to like places like your sessions, or all the special places, and a lot of events and all, the kind of energy I feel there with all the people and all, I feel like I do get a lot of calling. I feel like I do want to end up doing something like in this field and all. And but then again, there are factors that affect your decision about what you need to do in life, because like since I have a full like IT background and all, I do feel like okay, I need to do this for money, but somewhere I just don't get the feel there. And then yeah, so this environment difference, so is it the environment, or again it's me, or the inner self that you're talking about? I'm kind of confused now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can use any situation, but let's use that situation specifically as an example to feel your body, feel your connectedness. So when you have, you know, low energy feelings, however that shows up in your body because of the office environment and the politics and all that, noticing that you're feeling low energy is staying in your awareness of it. You're practicing living from awareness, literally in that moment. Getting pulled into it, oh, I don't want to feel this way. The moment you offer some resistance to it, now you're going into reactivity. Now you're actually feeding those low frequencies, and you're leaving your awareness state, and you're kind of starting to get entangled in the energy around you. But if you can notice, oh, there's a low frequency here, you stay in your awareness completely, and it just won't affect you as much. Over the long run, do you want to always every day, be like surrounded by people who are just emitting lower frequencies? Probably not. But unless your whole being is revolting it, and saying, this is just not my future here, or somewhere else, and unless that's happening, you can still really use this as a training ground. This is what meditators, after the only difference between a beginning meditator and a seasoned veteran that's been meditating for 30 years, the only difference is that the master can allow themselves to feel whatever they're feeling. They're still going to have weird thoughts, crummy thoughts, negative thoughts, too many thoughts. Their body is still going to express low frequencies, maybe depression that's flowing through them for whatever reason. We don't know everything. We don't have to understand everything. All we need to do is allow it to be. So the master can sit there after 30 years and, they plop down on the cushion and they recognize that their thought, their mind, their monkey mind is all over the place today. Crazy mind. And they can let that mind be. Oh, my mind is crazy today. Wow, look at it jump from one thought to the next, all over this one and then that topic, completely unrelated. And now it's telling me, go down here, or now it's going back into childhood. Now it's thinking about the future. Now it's thinking about my neighbor. And I'm just like, and you just observe it. And the observing of it will quiet it. It will become quieter from there. But that's the only difference. Whereas the beginning meditator, or take meditation out of it entirely, the beginning student of mindfulness and self-knowing, is still going to believe his or her thoughts and still get entangled with his or her thoughts of, why is my mind crazy today? Why are the neighbors playing such loud music? Why are there trucks rumbling down the street disturbing everyone's peace? Right? There's a resistance there. It's a believing of a thought. And the resistance is what turns it really into suffering. The master, life master, will hear the music that the neighbors are playing, will hear the traffic, and will let that be, and thereby deepening their presence. Now, if there's a chainsaw going on and it's just insane noise, of course, then you can say something about it, or take action. But for most things that annoy us, you can actually use those things to deepen your presence. So you say you're sitting still, trying to focus on something at work, and there's hammering, and next office over or something, or construction sounds outside or something. Or you're trying to meditate and somebody's playing a TV in an upstairs apartment and you can hear it. So practice using those things to actually move through them, even when your body starts to ache when you're sitting and you're trying to meditate, you're feeling sore and you're feeling pain in certain muscles. Feel it and move through it. Hear those things and move through them. By letting them be, you move through them. If you resist them, then you stay stuck at that level of irritation, and actually the irritation grows. But if you hear the sound, if you just allow the sound to be, you will move through it. And you come out on the other side, the sound suddenly just is so small, it could not even be audible anymore, because you've moved through it. You have to try it and experience it to really understand this. It's very simple. I lived in Bali for many years, as you know, and it's an island with nothing but scooters, zzz, all day long, starting early, going late, just scooter sounds everywhere. And I remember using that as an example with my classes. Next time you're at a cafe and you're trying to have a conversation, and every few seconds a scooter comes by and it's annoying and you have to pause, rather than that, try to actually invite the next scooter. Like, anticipate it, want it, invite it, welcome it. And then when that next scooter comes by, you'll recognize how it's a completely different experience. You're no longer in resistance to it. And then you realize, oh my gosh, my resistance to the scooter was all of this energy and all of this negativity. Now I'm actually welcoming, I'm looking for the next scooter's sound to come into my field of, of senses, and it's a completely different experience. There's no resistance. There's really just the sound of it. And when you do that, you have the contrast to understand how much of the experience was your resistance to it. I don't want this to be happening. Why are there scooters at this time? And then you see what the actual sound of it is. That's the first big step, is to come out of this resistance to it. The resistance is a story, right? It's an amplification of what's happening. And that amplification could be 95% of your energy is this amplification. And when you can come out of the amplification, if you can just let things be, then you actually move through them and you realize, oh, this isn't bad at all. It kind of like we have, selective hearing and sight and all these things that our body developed to actually tune these things out. That's why you can be in a crowd of 1 million people and have a conversation, focus on somebody and only hear their voice. And everyone else around you is, you just don't know the music, you don't even hear it. So that is a form of focus, of presence, that you can apply everywhere. We have the biological skill that when we come out of our resistance, out of our storytelling, then you can really be present with in any situation. So I would use the work example as as a training ground. Others, in the last session, could be your family situation, a phone call with your mother or whatever it is. Go into those situations as with the intention of, I'm going to practice acceptance, practice awareness, practice really hearing them and noticing as I'm trying to listen to them, how my thoughts are going crazy and how they're judging and how they're like saying this or that, and just develop more and more, little by little, that awareness of the mind activity. And when you can notice it, then you're no longer the mind activity. You're no longer absorbed and identified with that mind activity. And the mind activity might tell you, no, that's wrong. You have to push back. You have to be defensive. You have to go on the offensive and tell them they're wrong and all this stuff. You no longer have to do this. You just notice, this is what my thought is saying, but this is a person across from me, and they have a need to express themselves, to feel seen and feel heard. And now you're able to provide them with that because you're no longer entangled and reacting from your own judgment, your own thoughts about them. And then you rise above the whole situation. You become like you become a beacon of light, a source of calm. You start to focus on solutions. You allow people to express themselves and their anger, or then they need to vent or whatever it is, and you don't stay stuck there. Okay, great. Now let's refocus on, validate that, make them feel heard, and then continue on to find some solutions to the situation. And people will love that in you. Managers, whatnot, will recognize that as a top skill to have, and many of them, and elevate you in the company. Before you know it, a place that was really dark and low frequency, you're being put into a position to really raise the frequency. So shifting from, I need to keep myself sane and safe and protected, what can I do for that? As your awareness muscle grows, you actually become, you can now contribute and raise the frequency of your environment just through your presence, and of course through how you handle and others and how you behave in that environment. You just have to feel it out. You don't want to, overdo it right away. You don't want to expose yourself to too much negativity right away before you're ready to do that. But this is the path of life, right? This is everything else is affected by how much we are aware of our energetic nature, how much we can stay in our awareness. And if we just react to everything, get jerked around by our own thoughts, life is going to be just full of battle, full of struggle, full of resistance, full of sad stories. Why me? This always happens to me. All this stuff, and we can come out of all of that. There's no need for that. Beyond that, it doesn't mean there aren't ups and downs. It's just that you're no longer attached to those ups and downs. You've through the struggles of staying present through the everything we talked about, the challenges of life, you transcend your attachment to your body and your stories and your history and your name and all of this stuff. Your stuff. You're detached from belongings, and that will then elevate you, eventually to graduate from Earth School.
Uh, Thank you so much. It's been great. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. It's always great to see you, Nandita.
Thank you.
Okay,
Same here.
yeah, good, good, good. All right, welcome, Steve. Great to see you. Even late is great. There you go. All right, so I think we'll go into our meditation for today. I'm going to find a few moments of stillness. As we talked about, whenever we're seeking an answer, whenever we feel we've hit a wall, just finding a quiet corner, maybe going for a silent walk, maybe cooking a conscious meal, just finding some stillness in your life helps you to reground. Answers will come, inspiration will come, greater awareness of what makes you inspired, what holds you back, becoming more and more specific in your truth and how you wish to navigate life, letting Source lead the way, letting your connection to self guide you. Your body never lies, always tells you what resonates and what doesn't. Whenever you feel the thoughts taking over, the moment you notice, you can reground yourself by refocusing on your breath or an item that you carry or a candle in your room or a picture on the wall or even your desktop. With your eyes and mouth closed, focus your full attention on the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. If you have trouble locating your breath, you may breathe slightly harder once or twice. And once you feel the touch of your breath, return to natural breath, normal breath. Let the detail of your breath pull you in closer, closer into the present moment. If it's more in the left nostril, let it be the left nostril. If it's more in the right nostril, let it be the right nostril. Or if it's in both nostrils, let it be both. Notice the temperature of the incoming breath. Notice the temperature of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the pace of the incoming breath. Notice the pace of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. Notice the length of the incoming breath. Notice the length of the outgoing breath. And notice if there's a difference. And whenever you find that your mind has wandered, simply notice it. And without frustration, without dismay, but with full acceptance, bring your attention back to the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. Natural breath. Normal breath. Observe your breath as it is, without wanting it to be different. Now, moving on to the next section of this meditation, reflect on your body anywhere where you might feel pressure or tension or agitation, any situation recently that may have triggered you. Just locate somewhere in your body some point of blockage or tension. A lot of emotions live in our stomach, anxiety in our chest, grief in our lungs, heartache in our heart, constriction in our throat, tension in our jaws, or a weight on our shoulders, or pressure in your head, or in the lower or upper back. Just notice and pick a spot. Use it as your entry point. I'm going to walk you through a series of questions. You can answer them silently to yourself. This area that you're focused on, is it a broad, simmering sensation or more of a concentrated pinpoint one? Answer silently to yourself. Does this area feel fluffy like a cloud, or is it more dense like a rock? Does this area have a shape? Is it round or oval, or perhaps angular or abstract? Just observe. Can you see the boundaries of the shape? Are they clearly defined or more blurry? Do they bleed into the environment? Just observe. Just notice. Now, is the shape three-dimensional? Can you look around the sides, front and back, above and below? Or is it more two-dimensional, more flat? With your mind's eye, pick a starting point and draw a line around the entire shape, starting from one point and going all the way around, returning back to where you started from. And as you do that, notice any changes in shape or size or density. Now, with your mind's eye, see if you can zoom in to the surface. How close can you get? Does it let you, or does it push back? If it pushes back, that's all right too. Just find a comfortable distance from which you can observe. And just examine the surface, noticing, does it have a texture? Perhaps there are bubbles or spikes or edges, or maybe it's all flat like glass or marble. Just notice, just observe. And scan the entire surface of the shape from all sides, above and below, front and back. Just examining, observing, exploring the surface. Perhaps it's the same patterns everywhere, or maybe some areas are different. Just observe, just notice. And as you observe the surface, is there a color that comes to you? Perhaps it's dark or gray or yellow or red, or another color altogether. Just observe. And with your mind's eye, see if you can touch the surface, if you can tap it. Does it let you? Or if it pushes back, that's all right too. Just find a comfortable distance. But if you can touch it, you can do so now. Just touch and tap with your mind's eye, noticing how it responds, noticing what it feels like. Just touching and tapping across the entire surface from all sides, above and below, front and back. Just touching and tapping. And as you touch and tap, notice any changes in shape or size or color. And then with your mind's eye, see if you can penetrate the surface. If you can go inside, does it let you? If it pushes back, that's all right. Just observe from a comfortable distance. If you can penetrate, you can do so now. Just go inside and see what you find. Perhaps there are walls or structures or a source of energy, perhaps a pulsating light. Just look around and observe. You can ask this energy now, what is its purpose? Why is it there? Just ask and let the answer come to you. You can also ask if the energy wants to leave you, if it wants to go, or if it wants to stay, that's all right too. Just ask and let the answer come to you. If the energy wants to leave you, you can now initiate the release process. Ask the energy, what is its preferred way? Does it want to dissolve? Does it want to melt? Does it want to leave you through an opening? Perhaps it wants to transmute into something else altogether, perhaps a healing balm or butterflies or stardust. Whatever it wants to do, you can accompany it now out of you, see it as it leaves you through its preferred way. Follow it, releasing it into the ether or to a distant shore. Make sure to get it all out so that no residue remains. And if some or all of it wants to stay, that's all right too. Just find it a corner where it can retain. And as the energy leaves you, you can thank it, show gratitude. It's been part of you, perhaps for a very long time. But now it's time to go. It's no longer needed. Make sure to get it all out. This is your chance. And reflecting back on the space where the energy used to be, what do you see there now? Perhaps openness, spaciousness, perhaps the flesh from your insides, maybe even a light emerging. And notice what it feels like to have this space, this openness, this lightness. This lightness is your natural state, unencumbered, unhindered, just free and open. And into this space, you can now invite any energy you want, anything at all, perhaps the energy of confidence or self love or abundance, trust, or more healing energy. Anything at all, invite it now. There are unlimited quantities where that comes from. Just see it filling that space where the old energy used to be. And if you wish, you can now expand this energy, this light, into the rest of your body. If you want to keep it there, that's all right too. If you wish to expand, you can do so now, all the way up to the top of your head, washing away any darkness, any stuckness, all the way down to the tips of your toes, spreading this healing, loving light to your entire being. See this energy oozing out of your pores into your energy field, into your aura. Your entire being is now a great, bright light. Beautiful, loving light. And if there's anyone in your life you'd like to share this loving light with, you can do so now. Just send them a big beam of this loving light. Pure, unconditional love, expecting nothing in return. Just sending them pure love. You can do so now. Know that you have touched them deeply, healed them deeply, whether they're aware of it or not. And with that, bring your attention back to your body, to your inner wisdom. If there's anything, any questions you have, you can ask your higher self now. Perhaps decisions you need to make, steps you need to take, or how to maintain this light state. Anything at all, just ask and let the answers come to you. Noting any answers you may have received, you can gradually bring your attention back to the room, the surface that you're sitting on, the energy in your environment. Slowly blinking open your eyes. Looking around, noticing the high fidelity of your senses, noticing your peace, your presence, connectedness, and your stillness. Stillness is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of consciousness, a one consciousness. So beautiful, so healing. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for your presence. See you next time.